No
So
problem.
let's read a couple of the questions from the special chat that I created for you. And the first one is
Yeah.
actually a really good one since we talked about this. If you were to bring back League of Nations with new superstars, who would that be?
Oh, it'd have to be Cesaro in there, right? You and me, Cesaro and Drew. I think that would be a good one.
That is a good one.
Four best friends anybody could have. There you
For
go.
and obviously I've always said that Tony Claudio is the greatest wrestler ever, and
Ever.
ever. And clearly, Sheamus is unbelievable. Drew is so good, and you have me. But yeah, that's a good one. I will definitely. Well, it all depends from the plans.
Yeah.
It all
Well,
depends on the plans.
I still think that all four. I think I still think all four of us would be a better fit. I think you know what I mean. I just think would definitely be a lot more harmony in that group.
Right.
I think that's what
Um,
I think. That's
Second
my
question, which
opinion.
is really good, and you can answer it as much as you want, but I feel like it's a really good one because I know your story before WWE. Was there ever a time before you were signed to WWE where you thought this wasn't working out? How did you overcome self-doubt?
Um, the hardest part. So I did a couple of tryouts in Dublin. I had my uh, the first tryout I had. I didn't know what I was doing. I was green as grass, and I wrestled another guy from Irish Whip Wrestling. It was horrendous. And then the second time, if you ask Ziggler about this in 2005, it actually it was terrible. Well, I remember like looking forward to it for so long to go back there. It was just me, but it was just like it was kind of like it ended up being a horrendous week because Eddie had just passed away before WWE
Mm,
had come to Dublin. So I'm walking backstage in my bag, obviously, you know, I mean, nervous because getting the tryout, and you know, obviously everybody is just crushed. All the guys and girls backstage are just crushed. So just because of what happened to Eddie,
right.
um, and
Wow,
it just
that must have sucked, man.
yeah,
I
man, it
mean,
was
it sucked.
crazy.
It's obviously sucked for Eddie and for everybody because they knew him. Because we all, I mean, I've only heard, I've never met him, but apparently Eddie was the greatest guy ever. But it sucks for you because you're trying. There you are, your first time to get your break, and I don't think at this point nobody cares about you or anybody else because their best
No,
friend just passed away.
exactly. And I was just trying to be very respectful to everybody, but I ended up Fit Finley was there, and Ricky Steamboat were there, and they're the producers at the time or the agents, and I ended up having a match with Dolph Ziggler, who had just who was on the road as Kieran as Chavo's caddy, but Chavo didn't go because of what happened with Eddie.
All right.
So so Ziggler, it's just me and Ziggler, and none of us knowing what the hell we're doing, and just having a match, a terrible one again, and me and Ziggler joke with this all the time, but yeah, that was my tryout, but I guess the first
Well, was
time
the match
we
really
would see,
bad, or you think it was bad?
I think it was pretty bad. I'm pretty sure Fit Finley would say it was pretty bad as well. Actually, it was so bad that during the match, Ricky Steamboat turned around to Tori Wilson and started talking about how his favorite drink is Jack and Coke. Uh, really loud as well. Like so that gave me an indication that he didn't give a shite about
Wait,
what was going on in the
was
ring.
that? Oh, so there was with no people there, where everybody was sitting around.
Most people were in the back, but
You
like
have just
Wait,
subscribed, and
but
I
what I'm
feel
saying
right.
is,
Welcome to the
um,
handsome
so this
it
chatters.
is
was
no
empty arena,
audience,
empty arena, no
empty arena.
audience.
Oh, so if you don't know, so before there's tryout matches quite a few times before everybody comes in, before the doors open, and I guess Sheamus, yes. So and it always happened. It would not anymore, but before it used to be like, hey, you have tryout matches like every Monday and Tuesday. These new guys are coming in trying out, and I guess Sheamus was one
Hmm.
of them. And it's so nerve wracking. It's so nerve wracking because
Yeah.
you're there, you're trying to prove yourself, but nobody cares. Everybody
No.
cares to see you embarrass yourself. Honestly, that's what it is. And especially after this week, whatever happened to Eddie, and it's just a bad spot to
Yeah.
be in. But
It's
so
yeah,
in the middle of your
it is
match,
now. It's
you
definitely
hear
nerve wracking.
Ricky Steamboat start talking about his favorite drink.
Yeah, he's talking about like I telling Tori Wilson now his favorite drink was Jack and Coke as loud as possible.
Wow.
That's how I knew. That's how I knew he didn't really care what was going on in the ring.
Another questions. Did you have a backup plan in case you didn't make it to WWE?
Yeah, I was I was an IT wizard. I worked in IT technology. I was infrastructure technician, Active Directory, which is like Windows at the stage, Windows 2000, Windows XP, administrator, and I was also trying my hand at Oracle DB2 database admin as well. I just gone and done some courses with Oracle, so I was doing all right. I had a pretty good backup plan there.
That's
If
impressive.
wrestling hadn't worked out, yeah, it
That's
wasn't bad.
impressive.
Not
So now
bad.
when you're done with wrestling in 15 years, would you go back to IT stuff?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But we're
I wouldn't
talking
even.
about the time where, there was only green and black monitors. It was not like colorful stuff,
No,
right?
I'm not. No, no, I'm not going back that far. Jeez,
one
jeez.
one of the first Macintoshes.
Yeah. I actually funny. I just watched that Steve Jobs movie with
Oh,
who was in it again? Michael Fassbender. It's awesome, awesome. But yeah, no. But here's the thing. Like, I feel like 15 years out of the game, it's I just feel like a dinosaur. Like going back, like trying to pick up Windows now and everything. It's changed so much so
right.
fast. It's just it's technology is one of the hardest things to keep up on.
But
You know.
almost, it's not like watching wrestling now feels the same way, even though I've been out for like 3 months or whatever. But wrestling has changed so much since I started being in WWE, which is
Yeah,
what, 10 years ago. I got signed 2010. So 10 years ago, wrestling was so much different than what it is now.
yeah.
It
It's
just
changing all the time.
it just keeps evolving. And I can't
But
say that I like it more now than before though. But at the same
but I
time,
think
watching the 80s and early 90s, that was my favorite wrestling stuff.
could you go back? Can you go back and watch 80s? No problem. I know. I know when you come here to the gym, which worked out at the Break Change gym here. Uh, I know we
Quick
put
plug.
on some quick flip, but I know we basically watched like we watched Ultimate Warrior and Hogan, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah,
Halloween Havoc or something. Halloween
yeah.
Havoc 99, 98,
Oh boy,
98.
we watch this not for a good reason,
No,
but
that's true.
those are my favorite things. Like the early 80s, the WrestleMania ones and on, like oldies, like Hogan stuff, until like mid 90s. Then
Mm,
once the Attitude Era started, I think things starting to change, and I don't think I
mm,
liked it. I mean, everybody loves the Attitude Era, obviously, for quite a lot of reasons. But the characters that I had them, maybe I was just a kid and maybe it's just stuck in my head, but just seeing how colorful everything was and all these bigger than life like Hogan, Warrior, and Andre, and all these
mm,
guys, they just make you, wow, it's like you're in awe. And now it's different. It's different. It's
yeah.
way different.
So I agree with that. Totally agree with that. It's there's some great characters.
Question.
Attitude Era, I, yeah.
No, go ahead, answer.
No, the Attitude Era was fun too, but like there was a lot of matches that were god awful in the Attitude
Oh, you
Era.
mean
Like the
punch kick,
wrestling
punch kick,
now,
punch kick, punch kick?
oh Jesus, some of it was so bad. Like some of it I'll watch back, I'm like, Jesus, this is terrible.
Right. Right.
Like
And you know what's
it's
very
just
interesting about this is the same people that had terrible matches. Now they're coming around and thinking they're the greatest people
yeah.
and they're having the best things ever. And nobody gives us credit. Well, as much as we younger people, we give always pay respects to the previous generations. But at some point, we need some credit as well. Because we've seen all those matches. We've seen the punch kick for 17 minutes. And it's not. It
Yeah,
was not. It was not fun. It was not interesting. But yes, they were over because wrestling was over back in the day.
I agree. Wrestling was super hot, and because it was super hot, there's nothing you couldn't do wrong. Like you
And
just throw stuff at the wall and it would work.
also they allowed you to get over, if that makes sense. And I hate sounding like a wrestler, but Stone Cold was not Stone Cold from the beginning. He was the ringmaster. Then eventually he evolved, and when he got over, the they start the company got behind him. The Rock, the same thing. Edge, all these people that came before, nobody came in super over. They had
No,
to work their way in, and the people got behind. But nowadays, I'm not gonna say me, for example. There's so many people like Zach, like all these other people that get over. Like Daniel Bryan was such a struggle before they finally kick in, right? Until eventually they decide, okay, there you go. But
you know, it's funny you say that because I remember watching back some. I remember they had an elimination chamber match. I can't remember what year it was, and I remember just watching all chamber matches. And Edge was a baby face. I think he'd come back. He'd split up from Christian, and he'd like won the IC title or whatever it was. And so he was supposed to be like he was considered a baby face Edge. And I remember like he came out like the the light was flicking between all the pods, and it went off, and here's Edge, and it was crickets, man. And this is before Rated R, it's the Rated R Superstar, before the stuff with Lita. That stuff ultimately got Edge over, like in
right,
his feud with John. But like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, how is this possible? Like, I was like, no reaction for Edge coming out, and he was a baby face, and he'd done a lot with it as Edge and Christian had the TLC matches and all this sort of stuff.
right.
And that buzzer went off, went bing, and I was like, nothing. And like, I watched it all the way through, and the pod before went off, and there was a reaction. I was like, I'm thinking to myself, wow, it just goes to show, like, you don't start over. It's a hard road. You just
Yeah.
be consistent, and being in consistent storylines and like storylines that fans are emotionally invested in.
You have just subscribed, and I feel
takes
right.
a lot of time. And,
Welcome
and
to the
going
Handsome
a tag team wrestler
Chatters.
to a singles wrestler, then that's another whole thing, because now you have to reinvent yourself as a singles wrestler.
You have just subscribed, and I feel right.
Scratch all over again.
Welcome
And
to the
like,
Handsome Chatters.
It's insane to think like you just automatically expect, like, oh, he was in the tag team, he's super over. No, like,
you have just subscribed, and I feel right.
Because
welcome to the Handsome Chatters.
How successful and what an icon he is, and everything he's done, and all the WrestleManias and everything he's done, like super entertaining.
You have just subscribed, and I feel right.
Just goes to show.
Welcome to the Handsome Chatters.
Some people think they're over like after a couple of months. That's not the case. It's a long journey. It's a long slog of years.
You have just subscribed.
Of being consistently on TV, consistently involved in great storylines or very good storylines. It just takes a long time. Like it takes a long time.
It's very true. It's very true. It's very, very true. And there's nothing worse than you as a good guy coming out and there's crickets.
No, there's not.
There's absolutely nothing worse than that.
No, it's the worst.
Another very, very, very interesting question, because I told the story about, but you answer this question if you want. Did you ever play or complete Donkey Kong on the Switch after Miro came so close to completing it on the European
tour? You have just subscribed, and I feel right. Welcome to the Handsome Chatters.
Let me just stop something real quick, Shamey, before you.
What do you mean took it?
Well, you took it back. You don't remember?
You mean the game I just bought?
Yes, and I almost finished and you took it back. Remember that?
I don't remember this. I didn't know you were nearly finished. I didn't know that was the thing at all. I just know I bought this brand new game before we went overseas, and you took it, and I hadn't seen it at all. So the game that I bought was basically stuck in your Switch for like a week or so.
Right. So the question is, did you ever play or complete the game after you took it back?
Yeah, I finished a couple of times.
I don't buy that for a second. I don't buy that for a second.
Well, you have little faith, You have little faith. You know what I mean? No, I did not finish it. Of course. I don't even know if I played it since. I probably haven't played it about a year and a half.
So the answer is no. Thank you very much for taking it. I would never end up finishing that game.
That's all right. It's all right.
What was the feud you most enjoyed being a part of? If you don't like that question,
Oh
we'll change it.
man, no,
I
I'm
mean,
not
I know
saying I
there's
don't like
tons,
them.
but I know you love working with Tony. I knew you like working with. I mean, there's so many people, but is there one that you think like for me, if I can say, as much as everybody thinks Cena, I think me and Roman, it was definitely my favorite my favorite feud because I felt on top of my game. I felt like I was nobody could touch me as a heel. I could have get heat anywhere you put me. My skills were
Mm,
up to par. My cardio, my shape, everything was up to par, and we ended up having great matches because we had also great chemistry.
yeah.
So, was there one for you like that you felt I'm on my top game and this is so much fun? And I don't. Yes, is there anything like this for you?
So okay, so it's really that's a really hard question too because of the situation. Of, like I've had in 11 years, I've had a lot of fun feuds and stuff.
Right.
I'll give you one that will probably surprise people, but I just come off, and this is just for particular reasons popped into my head, and just to give a different answer than everything else. The feud of John Morrison in 2010 was big for me because what happened was I come out of ECW, went into WB. I beaten John, shocked everybody. Then I went into a feud with Randy, who's just kind of turning babyface. Then I went back in with, then I went into with Hunter, and then back towards John. So I was kind of straight away, I was pushed into this top echelon, right? And I was in with
Hmm.
these guys, but you kind of realize that stage then, you know, they're all baby faces. They've gone through pretty much all the heels. I'm a fresh heel. So now I'm a fresh opponent for these guys, right?
Hmm.
But when you get past them, then you realize, oh shit, trajectory's going back down now because, it's again, we talked about being years and years in the company and top guys to be in that place. Well, to stay there is another thing altogether. So I
Hmm.
ended up going back down, and I went in with John, and
You have just
me and John had
subscribed
great
and I
matches. But it
feel
was an
right.
opportunity for me to show, like,
Welcome to
John
the
had been on the
Handsome
cusp for quite a long
Chatters.
time, and it was an opportunity for both of us again to try and break that glass ceiling and like show, well, look, I'm not in here with all of your top dogs, but I'm here with John Morrison, right? Who that
Hmm.
like they kind of like got behind, didn't get behind, on and off for a bit. And then we went out and we had some great matches, like King of the Ring final. We had like Survivor Series match was okay, but then we had the ladder match at TLC in 2010, which I still to this day believe stole the show. We fit as a producer. We did some really really cool stuff. You know what I mean? We knocked the shite out of each other, and it's still one of my favorite matches to this day. And that from that John actually went on into feud with Miz, and it was shortly after that he kind of left the company. But that was a really special thing for me because being able to go in there and tear it up with John
Yeah.
and steal the show, it just showed, listen, I don't need to be in there with all the top guys. I can show that I can hold my own as well and be a major player.
Right.
Um,
And that's a
that's
great
kind of
feeling. Great feeling that you can do that with anybody. Because when you work with somebody good, it's nobody will ever give you credit anyways, right? But
oh, not me, definitely not me anyway.
well,
But
yeah,
I'm
nobody
used to
gives you
that.
credit for anything.
I'm
But
used to
also,
that
it's
these
not just
days.
that. I mean, I'm not saying that John Morrison is bad, but John Morrison is fantastic. But
Mm,
but working with somebody that is not on top of the food chain and just killing it, it's just it's I totally understand what you mean. Totally get
yeah,
it.
I got a funny story, John, as well.
Oh,
So
please share.
in 2011, then we did the chamber match, and this is the one where he came off he dropped off the chamber. That's the one we dropped off and like landed on me, whatever, um, to eliminate me. But we're in there in the beginning, me and John, and there's like this is before all the padding around the chamber. So you got steel gray floors, you got chain link fence, you got all these things, right? So you're going in there. I'm getting ready, whatever. Let's just do this. Backdrops or hip tosses on the crate. It doesn't matter. The first thing we get locked up, turn around. John punches me right in the fucking tooth and breaks half my tooth. I'm like, John, are you bleeding serious? You've got a graded floor, chain link fence, like all these pods. and he just punched me right in the mouth and broke my tooth. I was just like, I was raging of all the
Wow.
pain. I was like, you bastard. But what can I do at that stage? So everything else, I was grand from everything else in the chamber except for John's fist.
John's fist.
Cracked my tooth in two, bro.
No, which
Just
one?
his fist. I don't even remember now at this stage. I think it was the left one. The left with the front, for my front tooth.
Oh, the front.
Yeah, the front.
Oh, that's the worst. I had a broken tooth in 5th grade. I played soccer, and I went down to hit a ball with my head, and my teammate went to kick the ball as well, so he kicked me right in my tooth. And I had a broken tooth for quite a few years because back in Bulgaria, back in the day, they said that they can't fix it until a certain age for some reason.
What?
Yeah, I don't know why would they say that. So for years, I was walking around with half a tooth.
Snaggletooth Miro.
Yeah, I was a tooth fairy.
uh,
Let's see. Gladiator says, first of all, Sheamus, you will never walk alone. Big ups, Liverpool. Who inspired you the most for creating such a successful career? And if you're a parallel universe, if you're not a WWE superstar, well, you probably will. Oh yeah, if you're not in the WWE, what would you do now?
I'll be a dentist.
You'll be speaking of dentists.
The best goddamn dentist you ever seen in your life.
But who inspired you the most?
Just wrestling wise.
Yeah. Who inspired you to become a wrestler?
Bret Hart.
Bret Hart?
Yeah. Bret was I met Bret in a club I was working at in 2001. He came in
kind of club?
when just a nightclub, just a nightclub, you know, just a nightclub in Dublin. It was he was there with part of World Wrestling Alliance. So when WCW folded, and the talent that didn't go across the WWE, obviously Bret didn't want to go to WWE. And Stevie Ray was there. There was like, man, there was some Hubito Guerrero, all these guys didn't go to WWE, but they basically this Rich McManus guy from Australia wanted to set up his promotion, like a similar promotion called World Wrestling Alliance. And they were doing a tour of Europe. And they came into the club, and Bret was cool. And Bret was a big Bret Hart fan too. Like Savage, Ultimate Warrior, Bret Hart.
Love Bret Hart.
Yeah. So I was like, you know, I was working there that night, and I asked if I could sit down and talk to him, and he said, yeah. And I chatted about how I wanted to become a wrestler, and he was cool. He gave me the contact details of his personal assistant, Marcy Engelston.
Nice.
Told me to get in contact with her. And then I met him he says, come over at the hotel before we leave. And I went over the next day. Nathan Jones was there actually as well.
Wow.
The size of that guy.
Was he massive?
Was there. Unbelievably massive. I mean, the tallest guy I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And
Sheamus is 6'5".
Yeah.
Or 6'6".
No, I think the other side is 6'5", I think.
It depends on the day.
Depends on the day, you know. Depends on if I've been to the chiropractor or not.
Right.
But yeah. So basically, just went in and talked to him. He gave me all the advice, and I ended up going to the Monster Factory in the US in 2002 for 3 months with Larry Sharp, which didn't work. Didn't work out, but it was the start of my wrestling career, and it was kind of got the bug, you know.
You got the bug.
I got the bug. But Bret was the one who basically was super unselfish, like one of the biggest names in the wrestling game.
That's impressive.
Time out.
But how cool?
Nobody.
How cool from Bret though to be, because you know we have plenty of guys that come in. Hey, I want to be a wrestler. Hey, I want to do this. Hey, I want to do that. But for him to actually follow up and say, hey, come over here, and he gave you all the information. And look at you. You became all these. Do you thank him every day since you see him, or whenever you see him, or do you keep in contact with him, or what's the deal there?
No, we were pretty close. And then, you know, a huge fan. I'll always be a huge fan of Bret. But when me and Cesaro had one of the best of 7 matches, I ended up, Cesaro's idea, backdropping him into the post right before we went to the finish. I was grand. Tony was fine. But he went online, and he just buried me saying that I was unsafe to work and this and that and all sorts of mad shit. And I was just like, where did that come from?
And
So
he's
I don't
never
think I've
and
actually,
he's never even worked with you. How does he know?
I don't know. I guess he just saw the bump that Tony took, and he just like he went off. It's just one of those things. But
Yeah.
he went off on set too. Actually, I think he went off on me on set. And we went off on set for the whole John Cena nose break thing. But yeah, it was weird because like Tony took a backdrop and it was great. It was perfect. You know
I
how good
remember that.
Cesaro is.
I
Yeah,
remember
and
that. But
he was
that's
fine.
just Tony being Tony, though, and that's the beauty that he made everything like it hurts
Look
or
real.
whatever it is. But at the same time, it's a work. But I guess Brett got worked into a shoot.
Yeah, Brett was just went off on me. I was just like, where did that come from,
I
fella? Like
know.
on his blog, but it is what it is. I didn't take it
Right.
personally at all, to
So
be
this is a
honest.
very good question because we all know you have a huge successful YouTube channel, the Celtic Warrior Workouts. I've been there a couple of times. We've seen so
Yeah,
many famous
thank you
people,
for
so
that.
many
Thank
interesting
you for
people.
that.
And it's great, man, because I got, as I was saying that earlier, I got one of my best shapes in my life just working out with you in your little gym in the
Wow.
house and just killing it. And so the
Well,
question we
you
have for,
motivated you motivated me just as much, bro. Like it's hard when you're in there on your own, and getting someone there who's like who pushes
it's
you in the gym.
it's all
It's
about
really
pushing each other.
important.
So we have a
Yeah,
great question for Mr. Man. Who is the one person that you haven't had on a Celtic Warrior workout that you would like to work out with?
I wanted Randy Orton was one. I was trying to get him for been trying to get
Come
him for
on,
quite a while, but
you've seen
Randy.
Randy work out. Come on.
Yeah, but I think it'll be interesting. The other thing about the workouts too, I get on pretty well with Randy. And one of the things as well is like, it's the banter as well. It's the conversation that goes on in between the workouts.
Right.
That's the thing that people want to see. And Randy doesn't hold back on what he really thinks about certain topics, which would be great if you can get him on this Twitch channel because he'll drop a lot of bombs, I'm sure.
I know. I feel bad about
When
asking
it comes
everybody
to
though. I feel, I'm really close with Randy, but I, I feel like I hate
you
asking.
shouldn't.
I know,
You
but I hate
shouldn't.
asking. Like I'm not. You have no problem with that. Me, I'm very, I'm very shy about these things. Like I feel like inviting you even. Like I feel, well, they're gonna feel like I'm using them for this. But all I'm trying to do is provide some great content for the handsome chatters, because we have great stories. But I feel really bad about asking, honestly.
Oh, you can't do that. I mean, at the beginning I did too, man. I felt kind of awkward, like asking people, like, now it's kind of easier because how big Celtic Warrior workouts has become, and people see that like every episode is never about me; it's always about the person I'm working out with. So, I think they realize now there's a lot of trust there as well with people doing it, that they realize like the episode is going to be solely about them, and jokes at my expense and everything at my expense in the workout. And that's what it is. In the beginning, it was never like that. You just going to ask people to do this workout, and you know, it's time out of their day, and
Right, right,
like
right. The
it's kind of
inconvenience
an
is what kills me.
inconvenience. But it's not. I mean, look, at the same time, like dude, there's not one person in the locker room who doesn't have time for you. You know what I mean? Everyone has time for Miro, and again, it's all about the conversation, chat, and catching up. And I think a lot of the guys and girls would love to be involved. But I said in the beginning, I felt the same way. You have to start somewhere, and asking people to do this workout and trying to explain to them what it is, because you don't really have any material to show what this is at that stage. So it is kind of uncomfortable, but you just look at the bigger picture down the road, and once they see the finished episode or product, and they go like, "Wow, you know, Sheamus went out of his way to make me, the star of the episode, whatever." Like, because what YouTube channels are like. There's so many
Right.
people out there, especially the workouts, like, "Oh, look how great I am! Look how big my muscles are! Look how great I am lifting all this weight." And I wanted to stay away from that. That's just so ego driven. I want to just again, never make it about me. Always make it about the person who you're working out, their journey. And I think
Right.
that's why it works out so well. But you have to start somewhere, fella.
You have to start somewhere. And that's why
Yeah.
I started with. I had Tony with play. I played with Tony Valorant, and again, I did. We just played. I didn't invite him for this, but I'm on the road now, so it's harder to play. But I would love to come and play with me sometime, so we can play remotely or
Uh,
whatever.
yeah.
Because you do have an
I'll make
Xbox,
I'll
right?
make I do, yeah. I'll make anyone look fantastic.
He doesn't play money video. Shame is not much of a video game person.
I'm old school. I've got the arcade machine upstairs.
Oh, that's right. Shamey does get an arcade machine. And also, Shamey almost stole my WrestleFest cabinet right there.
That's not true at all. I saw it first, and you stole it from me.
We saw it. Okay, so it's a great story. We kind of saw it at the same time, maybe 5 minutes apart. And I got it from Facebook Market.
You saw 5 minutes after me.
So,
and
but
I
first,
told you I was going to buy it.
That's true. No, that's not how it was. So I contacted the person. I'm like, I want this cabinet. He's like, okay, and he told me a price or whatever. So for some reason, I don't know how me and Sheamus got to talk about it. Sheamus has contacted the same person about this, but the person that had the cabinet